M. Night Shyamalan's back in a new horror thriller. Yay. K-Dog's movie review. Trap is directed by M. Night Shyamalan and stars Josh Hartnett, Haley Mills, and Allison Pill. A father and his teen daughter attend a pop concert, only to realize they've entered the center of a dark and sinister event. It's 2024 and a new Shyamalan movie is upon us. I gotta say, I get kind of excited when his movies come around because they always end up being kind of laughably bad. A lot of his movies just really fail to do it for me. However, I will say this. Whether adapting from other creative licenses like a book or something, or coming up with it himself, his movies always do have a pretty interesting premise. And I'll start by saying this. The trailer reveals pretty much this entire movie. So if you haven't seen the trailer, you might be spoiled by some of the stuff I'm going to talk about. I usually try to avoid trailers, but it seemed like every single movie I went to this past month was showing a trailer for this. So I've sat through it a few times. But anyway, I sat my ass down in the theater and I watched this new horror movie. And I gotta say, it wasn't that good. All right, let me start with the positives. I will say, the actor who played the main dad, the killer that's trapped in the concert, played by Josh Hartnett, he's actually pretty damn good in this. He puts on a lot of charisma here, and he acts really well. That's all I got for positives. This movie really encapsulates the Shyamalan experience. This movie is just weird. Everything about this movie is just off. It's almost like if you've ever met someone who's seemingly normal, and about 30 seconds into the conversation, you say to yourself, something's off about this guy. Something's just not right about you. That ain't right. That's like this entire movie. From the very beginning, we have the classic Shyamalan dialogue, which is just not good. It's like robots talking to one another. It's like an alien came from outer space, and they're trying to write the way that people speak, and it comes off very robotic and weird. It's almost like an AI program wrote the dialogue for this movie. And the camera absolutely does not help at all in this movie. Shyamalan is obsessed with zooming in hardcore on people's faces. So much of this movie is spent with people's faces planted against the screen. I feel like it's some weird attempt to inject tension into a scene, but so many moments it just comes off as awkward and just weird, just like a little off, like it's not normal. There's so many times I just want to yell at the screen and say, step back, bro. Give me some space here. And that's not even from a I'm so tense kind of feeling, which I think he's trying to inject onto the audience. It's more so from a, like, I just need a different camera angle. Back the fuck up. Again, it makes everything feel so weird and awkward. It happens throughout this entire movie. Okay, so as I said in the description, or if you've seen the trailer, this father takes his daughter to a concert that's being held, and it ends up being a whole setup for this supposed serial killer that is one of the attendees. And what's revealed in the trailer, and pretty early on in the movie, honestly, is that the father is the serial killer, our main character. He has to try and make his way through this concert while not being caught by the police, essentially. And you know what I found out was that Shyamalan's daughter, I'm forgetting her name right now, but his daughter plays the lead pop star in this movie, and she has a pretty significant role here. But a major part of this movie is just her singing. The pacing of this movie is really off because so many times we just cut away to the concert going on. I honestly feel like I just watched a commercial for M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. And when the concert finally stops, no spoilers, but when the concert finally stopped and we get some more in-depth scenes with the pop star, she's a terrible actress. It feels like a director's daughter was thrown onto the screen because every single bit of line delivery was just weird and awkward. It just felt like she was thrusted into a movie and had never taken acting classes before. And again, it really doesn't help when you have the Shyamalan dialogue and the Shyamalan zoom-ins on her face for extended periods of time. It just comes off as so weird. And there's so many moments in this movie that I think are meant to be seen as really intense or horrific, but just come off as just awkward and really funny. I found myself unintentionally laughing throughout the entirety of this movie. I will say there are some intentional jokes which work pretty well, but when we go back to the more horrific things or moments that are supposed to be tense, they just come off as awkward and kind of funny. This movie on my movie app was labeled as a horror. I was not scared once during this movie. I think if I had to relabel it, it would be a thriller. Similar to the movie, this review is going to be all over the place. I'm just spilling thoughts. I just came back from the theater and I haven't really thought too much about it. These are my raw thoughts on this thing. The pacing is just weird because a lot of this movie is spent with this concert, and then we do some other things. Again, no spoilers. We do some other things, but the movie just doesn't know how to wrap up. It just keeps going and keeps going, and that's when we get into the overall writing and the plot of this movie. Shyamalan just doesn't know how to not give exposition and shove it down your throat. There are so many scenes in this movie, whether it's police or, the serial killer or the pop star or some other random ass character. There's always a scene where someone is staring at the camera and just giving us a boatload of exposition. It's so much information thrown into us. Instead of just showing us through clever storytelling or engaging character interactions, we're just thrown these lines and lines of exposition, and it's not presented in an exciting or interesting way at all. It's just told to us with characters staring straight at the camera. Or it's a character, listening in on someone else talking. So monotonous, and it happens so many times throughout this movie. And what makes it even funnier, a lot of the exposition, when it's told later in the movie, because it happens throughout the whole runtime, almost comes off like a soap opera. Little did you know, I had the knife behind my car the whole time, knowing that the librarian would find it, and knowing that that librarian knows my cousin Dale, who happens to be married to your father. And it's weird, over-the-top exposition like that just ends up coming off as silly. So I often found myself just giggling throughout this whole movie. So I'm not sure whether this was all intentional or not. I mean, there are, like I said, intentionally funny parts, but the horror stuff comes off as really weird. And you'd think in this thriller that's loaded with exposition, there'd be at least a, engaging or well-written story. But no, there are tons of plot holes throughout this entire movie. This movie presents the main serial killer as this cold-blooded, super intelligent guy who's outsmarting all of the, the police and the FBI and everyone else around him. Everything that happens to this guy, the way he's able to get out of certain situations, is just based on pure luck. There's nothing calculated about what he does. He just happens to fall into these scenarios where he comes out on top. It's rarely presented in a way where you're like, wow, that was actually pretty smart. He really outdid those guys. It just feels stupid. It just feels like as the plot progresses, anything is possible because there are a number of holes and things just work out for him. It's almost like, once again, Shyamalan has a good idea, a cool premise, but didn't really put the effort into thinking about what actually has to happen in the movie for that premise to stay interesting. It's like here, they just came up with the basic idea, and he told his daughter, hey, you know what? Let's get you on stage for 90 minutes. That's why I'm almost fully convinced that this movie is just a commercial for his daughter's pop career. Going back to the over-explaining, they often just over-explain things that myself as the audience had no question about. It's like this movie has plot holes, but at the same time feels the need to over-explain itself. It's really like they're padding the runtime for his daughter's career here, acting or pop singer or whatever she does. There was maybe one scene in this entire movie where I said to myself, okay, that was well done. That was kind of tense. I felt it there. But I really think, again, that has to do with the main character's acting. He does a great job in this movie. The girl who plays his daughter, she does a good job too, but everybody else just feels like maybe they were a friend or family member of Shyamalan's, and he was like, hey, I'm funding this movie, so it doesn't matter who I cast. I'll cast whoever the fuck I want, and they just threw them into this movie. Side note, Kid Cudi is in this movie, and he's the best part of it. Carry on. So to summarize, don't spend your money on this. It's not worth it. Wait for a streaming service. The acting is okay. The writing is poor. The camera work I absolutely hated. The story is filled with plot holes while at the same time being over-explained. And while there are moments of levity that are actually funny, it's overall a very, very lackluster thriller. I'm having a real hard time with this review because, again, I just summarize this whole movie as weird. I don't know who this was made for. Maybe if it's your first step into the horror genre because the main character is a serial killer, it's not particularly scary in any way. I'm going to completely forget about this film by tomorrow, probably. It's almost a so bad it's good. No. I feel like I just watched a 90-minute commercial for M. Night Shyamalan's daughter as a pop singer. But at the same time, she was terrible at acting in this. So, I don't know. This movie's weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's like this movie broke me. I came out of the theater, I was like, should I be laughing? Should I be, like, mad? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Because I don't feel like I wasted 90 minutes of my life because I was entertained by the baffling choices. I don't know. Am I crazy? Am I stupid? Is this a legit masterpiece and I'm just not getting it? Please let me know what you guys thought of this movie in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you think it was just weird like me? Do you like those camera angles where people's faces are zoomed in all the way? Do you find his dialogue realistic? Do you like the over-explaining plot holes? Till next time.